Hello, everyone, and welcome to another DigiEduHack coaching call. My name is Madeline, and over a time span of 12 weeks, I will be giving you 14 different coaching calls to help you on your hackathon host journey, all the way from when you first register as a host to when you have successfully completed and hosted your own hackathon under the DigiEduHack program. If you're new with us and you haven't seen our previous videos, you can watch all of the videos so far in the YouTube playlist that this is also a part of. So you can check out those first or check the agenda and watch whichever one interests you. But if you've watched us all the way until now, feel free to keep watching. If you have any questions and you're watching this live, you can ask them in the chat here under the video, and we will answer in the comments. You can also email us after on contact@digieduhack.com, and you can also, thirdly, join us on our support Discord calls weekly on Fridays at 10 a.m. CEST or CET time. Here you can ask us all the same questions you would, but just in a face-to-face interactive session. As you might know, this week we give you not one, but 3 videos and coaching calls. Since you can decide yourself if you're doing an on-site, online, or blended event, we will go through each of these formats in a separate session. So if you're hosting a blended event, feel free to keep watching. If you're doing on-site or online, we have done coaching calls on these previously this week, so you can check out those calls instead. We're going to go through some pros and cons of a blended event. I'm going to give you a very detailed example schedule so you can get some inspiration on what to include in your own schedule. We're going to go through what you need to think of in terms of the on-site venue and the online digital workspaces and tools. How do you present solutions in a smooth way for all of your blended participants? What kind of on-site and online resources do you need to take into consideration? And how can you do energizing and exciting breaks in this format? In a blended event, you are basically running an online and an on-site event simultaneously and merging those. This means that you do get the best of both worlds. You get the increased accessibility that an online event gives you, where people who, due to geographical status and places, travel and accommodation costs, different disabilities, are unable to join you on site, they can join you in this blended event. People who are able to come on site and enjoy the face-to-face interaction, want to network and collaborate together in that exciting atmosphere that an on-site hackathon gives, they can join you on site. You can also adapt the balance between offline and online components based on how you want to and based on different circumstances that you have. So you have a lot of opportunities to play with here as well. You also get not the worst of both worlds, but the challenges maybe from both of these formats. So running a blended event can sometimes feel like you are doing 2 events, both an online and an on-site, and that you're doing a bit of extra work to accommodate both and to have the same experience for both your online and your on-site participants. So you really need to think about the planning and the resourcing a lot if you choose this format. However, we are here to help you with that. So if that's the way you choose to do it, fear no more. We are here to help, and you will manage and be successful in this as well. As said, you can plan yourself if you want to have a 24 hours straight hackathon, if you want to have a 12 hours on 2 days, 8 hours on 3 days, so on, so on. However you want to divide these 24 hours on the hackathon days, 6th to 13th of November. But however you choose to do it, plan in advance. If you're prepared for everything that you know is going to happen, you're also more prepared for whatever might surprise you that you haven't planned for. Before we go into these our examples here on a 2-day schedule, if that's what you're having, I want to say that this is just an example and a template or ideation base that you can use. But after the opening session, nothing is mandatory. You don't need to do these things that we are going through today. These are just things that you could use and that we think are good components to include in a hackathon. Already before the opening session or sometime around the opening session, it would be good for you to already identify the status of your hackathon participants. So if your participants are applying as individuals and you do the matchmaking into teams on site, it is very good for you to know who is online, who is on site. Maybe that differs, their on-site part of it and online part of the hackathon. So make sure that you know the status of each participant. If your participants are already in teams, ask each teams in advance as well their status. Will they be working fully on site or online, half and half, however that will be done, just so that you know that you have everyone where you want them. That being said, let's jump into the opening session. The opening session is a very good place to go through all of the practicalities, everything that you want to highlight, because that's one of those moments where everyone listens only to you and they're not focused on their own work yet. We would start here with the few welcoming words, of course, from your moderator or host. After this, you can watch the DigiEduHack opening video that is provided to you by us. Here you get some highlights of the whole DigiEduHack program. You get some interviews with previous winners with their tips and advice for your participants and other interesting guest speakers. So you can stream that. After this, make sure that you thank all of your sponsors and your mentors for joining and giving their time here to help you at your hackathon and to participate overall. Then you can go through some practicalities, maybe the purpose again and the bigger picture of your own hackathon and the whole local event. And also practicalities such as the schedule again and the deliverables and evaluation criteria, what links are being used, all of these different things that you can think of. If you have any other relevant logistical information here, go through those before you then let your teams get to work. After this, again, not mandatory, but if the situation is that you have a lot of participants, but they're all individuals, so you don't have any teams yet, we would facilitate some sort of matchmaking workshop. In this, the individuals can introduce themselves to each other, their skills and backgrounds, their interests, and more specifically, what would they want to work on during this hackathon. Then you can matchmake different complementary skills and also people with the same interests. Since you're doing this online and on site, make sure that this either you can maybe match the physical or on-site ones with each other and the online ones with each other over your online meeting tool in breakout rooms or whatever the case may be. You can also gather all of your on-site participants and have them chat with the online ones to have everyone in the same discussion. So up to you how you do that. If And before I move on, we do give you a matchmaking template deck that you can use. It gives you a bit more guidance and tips on how you can do this matchmaking workshop and matchmake your teams overall. So that we can come back to in another coaching call more in detail. If the situation is that they have teams, your participants are in teams, but they don't have project ideas yet, then you can host a ideation workshop. Here again, we do provide you with a self-guided template that you can give out to your participants. They can fill that in and use that as a tool for brainstorming and so on, so that they can come up with a project idea that they will work on. If you have your mentors ready, they can also be included in this and support the teams with some background info. Maybe they already know what exists on the market in your challenge area. Maybe they have some tips on what the teams could work on. And again, take into consideration the blended format here. After this, if we say that your teams do have teams and they have ideas, then you can go into a participants ideas intro session. This especially if you didn't host a meet the mentors session where the teams presented their ideas. In this session, you could allow all of the teams, no matter the format again. So have everyone maybe stay in that same online meeting room that you are in, and the teams can one by one in a few minutes or so explain their ideas, what are they going to work on during this hackathon, and so on. And the mentors can give their brief first comments and tips and help the participants on their first push into the hackathon. If you want, this is also a good place for you to have any workshops. This can be a workshop on something related to the hackathon challenge area to give a better understanding of that. It can be a workshop on some kind of technology that they are using in this hackathon. It can be a keynote speech from one of your sponsors or other guests. Anything like this, but do keep this pretty early in the hackathon so that after that the teams can work on their own project as much as possible. As you can see, we have scheduled a few breaks for you here and there. Make sure to actually schedule these breaks and the teams know that something is planned for them at certain times, so that they can take a good breather and take their brain off their own project for a second, mix the teams, network with others, and so on. Here you can we can go through these in a different slide as well, more in detail, but it can be some sort of light physical activity, such as a yoga session where the yoga instructor is either at home and you stream it both for your on-site and online participants, or the yoga person is, the instructor is with you at the hackathon venue, so the on-site participants can see them live, but it's also streamed online. That is easily manageable. It can be some sort of online game, whatever the case may be. So just something that the teams can take their mind off their work. We also suggest that you do different check-ins every now and then. As you can see, we've scheduled them a few times. These are a great way to support your hackers, make sure that they are doing some progress, also a good way to support the mentoring and facilitate that. So these are basically quick check-ins with the teams. They tell you what they've been doing up to this point, what are they struggling with, do they need any help going forward, so on. It's good here to have the mentors listen to this session so that they are aware of the team's status as well, and they can also decide and maybe notice that they have something to contribute with to different teams. Since you're in a blended format here as well, you can either do so that you take the online teams in the same big online meeting group or room first. You can go through their projects one by one, and the mentors listen online and on-site where they are. Then you take the online mentors with you remotely, and then your on-site mentors with you physically in person, and go through the on-site teams tables and have that same discussion with them. You can have everyone join in that online meeting room regardless of where they are. You can do this however you feel, but do have check-ins every now and then. Also make sure in these check-ins that the actual mentoring starts when all of the teams have been checked. So even if a mentor says, I know exactly what you're going to do here and I can help you, save that until we've done the quick checkup with every team, and then the mentors can scatter to help those that they identified with the most. And after these check-ins, as said, mentoring begins. Mentors are here to support and give inspiration and some tips, but they're not here to solve the hackathon themselves. Think about here how you want to facilitate it. Again, since we are blended, do you want the mentors just to go around the room and also check in with the online teams a bit randomly? Do you want to have the possibility for teams to book a certain mentor a certain time? Do the mentors book the teams? Do you have an assigned mentor for every team throughout the whole hackathon? Do you switch it up a little? You have different opportunities and possibilities here. One way to do it is that after each check-in, when you've heard the newest update and need for help from the teams, you could distribute a few new mentors for each team after each check-in. This way the mentors rotate a bit, but they have some instructions on who to help, and they are not feeling lost in where they are most useful and so on. So this way you can kind of facilitate and guide the mentoring. That is basically the first day in our example schedule. Then we have on the second, and for us last day in this example, a welcome back session. Keep this session short, welcome everyone back, go through the schedule for this day, highlight the deadline, and also instruct the teams again on how they submit their final materials. You can already, if you're curious, we're going to go through this a bit later as well. But if you're already curious and want to put yourself in the participants' shoes, you can find more information about how to submit your solution as a participant under the participant support on the DigiEduHack platform. Yes. After the teams have worked and you've had breaks and so on, the second day, you go into solution collection. This means that the deadline for sending in their final solutions has now come. You can find again more about how to collect solutions in the guide here, so just click that. But make sure that every team submits only once, one solution, so that you don't have several versions and you get lost and they get lost and so on. You can have your own way for teams to submit, your local way, but it is mandatory for the teams to at least send in their final materials and these submissions on the DigiEduHack challenge platforms, or your own hackathon platform under the DigiEduHack platform. They do at least need to send it in there. If you want to have another local way to collect your solutions, that's also fine, but then you need to have them both. After this, we go into the solution presentation. You can have a pitch pitching session however you want here. So however you've chosen that the teams will deliver their final solutions. It can be a pitch, usually it's around 3 to 5 minutes, depending again on your own challenge and maybe target group and so on. I will go a bit more in detail into this on some coming slides, but basically to keep this fair, have the same format for your on-site and your online participants. So if you want everyone to have a recorded pitch and they just send in the video file, then everyone needs to do it. If you want to have a live pitch, regardless if they're doing it on stage at your venue or live over your online meeting tool, then everyone does that, and so on. After the pitching, however it is presented, the solution is presented, your jury can have, if you want, a few minutes to ask some questions and get some further details and answers on these projects. And then the jury writes down their scores for each team and you go to the next one and so on. Make sure here, and I'm gonna give you some more tips here, but make sure that you take here both the online and on-site participants into consideration. Everyone has the possibility to see the jury and all of these things. I'm gonna talk about it a bit later. No matter how you present your solution, it needs to be evaluated somehow. So after the presentation, your jury will come together for a deliberation session. If you have both online and on-site mentors, then your on-site mentors and you can go to a private space and you have a computer to have your online jury there remotely, and so on. Here you collect the scores from all of the jury members that they filled in the evaluation grids. We're going to go through these in a separate call as well. And if you have a lot of teams, just a tip, talk about the top X teams. So if you have, let's say, 15 teams, but you only want to identify a top 3, maybe don't discuss all of those 15 teams, but maybe start with a top 5 and try to rank those, just so that you don't run out of time and you have time to discuss detailedly enough about these top teams. Even if you would award, let's say, 3 top winning teams, you need to also identify your number 1 winning team, because only your grand winner will be sent to the DigiEduHack Global Award competition afterwards. After you have the top teams decided, you go into a award and closing session. Keep this pretty short. Teams have already worked a lot and now they're just eager to know if they won or not. It's good here to have the jury members distribute the prizes and motivate why they chose this winner, just because it's a bit more prestigious to have them give over the prize and actually thank the teams themselves. Remember here to thank everyone again, both congratulate all of your participants and teams regardless of the outcome. Thank your mentors, sponsors, judges, everyone. And before you close the session, invite everyone to watch the main stage event to close the whole DigiEduHack event on November 13th. We recommend that you collect some feedback from everyone involved, so your participants and mentors and judges and partners and so on. For the participants, a good way or a good place to collect your feedback would be during the jury deliberation, for example, because they're still focused on the hackathon but not on their own work. They're having a break there, so they could spare a few minutes for that. You can do this through a feedback form that you send out to everyone. In a blended event, that might be a good way, because you either way have to do some kind of online version for the online team. So this way everyone answers the feedback the same way, and you can collect it easily in a digital way from all. But you can also do oral feedback for the ones on site, or have a feedback session for everyone and discuss freely and so on. Before you leave from your own hackathon or before your grand winner leaves, I quickly mentioned there that they have to also submit and they will be selected and sent to the Grand Global Awards competition as well. In order for them to be noticed in this award competition, they need to submit their materials there as well. So you as a host will be in charge of handing them a link that is provided to you through which they can give their winning materials forward. It has to be the same person from the team that submitted their original idea to your local hackathon, and now they will submit it forward as well. They have around 10 days-ish to actually send in this material, but please urge them to do this as early as possible, because otherwise they might forget as more time passes from the hackathon and so on. If you want to help the teams or your winning team maybe improve their material or pitch or tweak it somehow, you're free to do so. You can book a mentoring session with them, either with your team or with some mentors or whatever the case may be. But just make sure that all changes are done and everything is sent in before those 10 days are out. After your event is over, as said, make sure to check that your grand winner is submitted onwards. Have a checklist of everything that you did right, all of the success factors from your hackathon, so you can repeat those in incoming events. Also write down maybe something that could be improved from what you noticed as an organizer. Also analyze the feedback for improvements that the participants and mentors and other members noticed. You can also write a blog article, post some social media posts or something similar after to highlight your event, highlight the outcomes, highlight your winners, and so on. This is an example of what to include in your own hackathon once the event days arrive. But again, use this as much or as little as you want. Since you're doing a blended event, you need to take into consideration not only the online atmosphere, but also the physical on-site one. So you will need a hackathon venue. For your venue, take the following things into account at least. First of all, you need to think of the accessibility. So first of all, where is it? Can you get there by car and by different public transport easily? How is the access in and inside of the building? Is there also entrances for some mobility aid? How is it inside the building? Do you need access keys to get around? Maybe if you're there 24 hours straight, you will also be there during nighttime. Do the doors lock? Is there an alarm? Do you need to have a safety guard? Whatever the case may be. Also think of the size and capacity. How many participants are you expecting in terms of everyone involved? And can this take it? Not only the size and capacity for the common spaces, so think of the presenting area. So is there a stage and a screen and you have room for chairs for the audience or a standing audience or whatever the case may be? But is there also enough capacity for working areas? Co-working spaces are also nice, but do ensure some private rooms if possible for the team so that they can take their blended meeting calls in peace. And I do highlight that this is quite important in a blended session because in the teams, they might have some participants online and on site, and they need to constantly be in contact with those. Maybe they want to have a mentor session with an online mentor, but they are on site, so they do need to be able to have calls undisturbed throughout the hackathon. If you have room for one room per team, that is amazing, and maybe even one for the mentors, that is so great. Otherwise, it's fine as well. You have as many as you can provide, but do make sure that you have some sort of booking system or other way to ensure that all the teams are able to use these working areas the same amount. And also for the mentors, they mentor some online teams, but they're on site, so they also need to have some private rooms. I mentioned the presentation space. For the presentation space here, make sure that it goes both ways. So both you have enough room for the on-site audience, but you're also taking into consideration the online audience here. In hackathons, usually it's very, very important with the internet connection, especially if you're doing a blended one and you need to be online all times for your online participants. So make sure that the internet connection is good, there's enough power and access, and everyone has the same access there. You have enough power outlets for those working on site. For on-site, you also need to think about catering options. Do you have it? To what extent? And so on. And also think about some resting areas for when the teams are not working or the mentors are not mentoring and so on. For the online environment, digital workspaces, you need to have some sort of video communication and some text communication. I'll go through it in the next slide. You have very many options here, and you'll find some tools in the host guide as well, some different suggestions or recommendations. But we do advise you generally to use the same tool if possible for as many things as possible. So you don't need to juggle too many tools at the same time. For all official communication, that means the opening of the event, it means the award ceremony, the pitching and solution presentation, maybe those check-ins if you want to do those so that everyone are gathered, and all the blended interactions otherwise that require everyone there, the breaks maybe or so on. You need to use an online meeting tool. You can use, for example, your DigiEduHack Discord event space, and then you simply create a stage channel, and there you can have up to 50 people live, several speakers, and then teams can create their own video and voice chats using this create private team video chats function that you see here. So this is one way to go forward. In terms of broadcasting or showing the on-site environment to the online teams, we advise you to have 2 cameras, 2 microphones. One set of these would go for the presenters, that's your host or anyone else presenting right there and then, and the other one would be for the audience interaction, so you can show the working space and so on. You also have a lot of different options here for your text communication, but however you choose to do it, you need to have something. You can, again, use our DigiEduHack Discord event space that is provided to you. And here you will create different spaces for the general or the public channel, so to say. These would be the general announcements channel, where you can let the teams know what's happening next, any important information or anything that concerns everybody. You can also have one for, let's say, pictures or something like that, just to see that the on-site and online people can both share their surroundings. You can have one for resources. This is especially useful if you have a technical hackathon and your technical mentors can post different links or informative videos or whatever the case may be, data sets, any resources that can be used. You will also create private spaces for each teams. So for every team, you will have their own text channel. Add here all the team members, add the mentors in this, and add your whole organizer team into each channel. This way, when a mentor is asked to mentor, let's say, online team 4, then they know to just go into their channel and start talking. They're already there. If the teams want to have a video or voice call with any of the mentors or amongst each other or whatever the case may be, they can, as I showed you on the last slide, create their own meeting, like voice or video meeting right there and then. So no need for you to create both text and voice channels by default. If you see that a channel in your space is not being used, a text channel, please delete it, just to keep the list of open channels clean for everyone, and you don't have anything there to confuse anyone with unused channels. The solution presentation. To ensure that the event is as fair as possible, we advise you to have the same pitching format for all the teams. Also, no matter if it's an on-site or online teams. Since teams that are on-site could do a pretty standard pitch on-site live, the same possibilities are maybe not possible for the online teams. Since they are or would be doing a live pitch online, there might be a technical delay in the sound. The video might not be as good as they would want to be, or anything that they want to present. You might get a bit lost in counting, so that the same time restrictions might not be the same in reality, and so on. One possibility to get past these unfair advantages, so to say, is to have every team record a pitch video in advance, no matter where they are. This way, everyone's final solution and deliverable would look the same. This gives also online teams a better way maybe to give a more high quality and lively pitch. And same for the participants on site. They can also have different features if they're doing a video instead of an on-site speech pitch. Yeah, you get around so many technical bugs here, and it's also fair. Again, you are free to do however you wish, but it might be a good way. When you broadcast the videos, if this is how you choose to do it, make sure that you share your screen and share it with sound, so that the material shown in these pitch videos is also heard by everyone. Here you can try this in advance. A lot in advance would be, of course, better. So not only a bit before the presentation session, but also before the actual hackathon. So try broadcasting videos on whatever online meeting tool you're using. Also make sure here that you try your best to have a camera pointed, if you have an on-site jury, pointed at the jury, so that also the online participants can take part and see the jury asking their questions, and the communication between them is a bit more natural. Yeah, and just to maybe have a simpler and a nice atmosphere in your blended meeting room. Make sure that online participants stay muted when they are not speaking, to take away any background noise and so on. Just go through some rules of having a organized meeting there. When you collect these pitches, if you decide to do a video format, you can either have them submit as a file on the DigiEduHack website form, where they also would submit otherwise. They can add a file there as well, which would be this video, or you can have some other way in addition to this to collect these videos to yourself, but at least through the DigiEduHack website. What resources do you need to cover in your blended hackathon? For the on-site part of your format, you would need to resource for or cover at least someone hosting the event. This would include the opening and closing, hosting the pitches and the Q&A session, moderating that, the award ceremony. Maybe that same person would moderate the check-ins and the jury deliberation and so on. Since you're doing a blended event, it might be good that this person is on site. You are free to choose, however, but it might give a better and more lively picture if that person is presenting on the stage. You need someone to facilitate the teams and the mentors' work, make sure that there are snacks, there is coffee available, the catering, or if you are providing any meals, they come and go as they should, and so on and so on. Make sure that the rooms, the working space areas, if you have a limited amount of private rooms, that they're being used fairly and all of these things. You also need to have someone to make sure that the microphones, the screens, the presentation materials, etc., all the technical things are working properly, making sure that the stream to the online world is working as well, and everything is good on that side. You also need to make sure that the mentors and jury members that are there are taken care of, they're being briefed, they are prepared, they're not feeling lost. So someone to be on mentor and jury duty. As for the online resources, already before the hackathon, when you know your participants that will be joining the hackathon, you need to set up these communication channels. You need to both set up the video online meeting tool, send links to everyone and so on, but also the text communication workspace with all those public and private channels. You need a lot of support behind the scenes here during your video meetings or sessions. This means that if someone is maybe just presenting on the stage, if you do so that your host is on site presenting, someone needs to monitor the chat in your online meeting room, make sure that everyone has access there, no one's stuck in a waiting room, everything like this. So have someone on that side as well. And you need to have a person on call monitoring the text communication and the video meeting tool. So make sure that you are maybe focusing on having on-site and online mentors and teams find each other in this tool. There is communication ongoing. They can find each other in the same channels and so on. So a few things to think about. To give your participants some break every now and then from their work, we already discussed that it's good to have some social energy booster to provide a breather here and there. As said, you need to think of a way or an activity that can include both your on-site and online teams. It can be an online game that everyone can play on their own computer, no matter where they are physically at that point. You have here on the screen a lot of different options. These are not the only ones. You can try all of them out and see which ones you like, or do something completely different. You can have other networking or mingling activities. As said, you can have some physical workouts with an instructor somewhere that is being streamed to everyone. You can have a workshop regarding something completely unrelated to the hackathon topic. You can have a online karaoke session. Everything is possible here, but just plan in advance and make sure that there is something so the teams can take a bit of a break and network as much as possible with other teams and mentors outside of the hackathon topics. Lastly, please remember to take pictures, videos in your blended event. You can take pictures of your physical or on-site venue and the teams working there. You can take screenshots from your online or the blended program sessions, the openings and the sessions where everyone is involved. You can ask your participants online to send in pictures from where they're working. However, and please share these, or at least a selection of this content, with us through the Discord Share Your Experience channel that is already in the same workspace where all of us will be. Remember to ensure consent of the people showing in these contents so that everyone is okay with it, because we will then highlight your local events on the DigiEduHack social media challenge. We will do this throughout the 10 days. So don't wait until the end of the event to send us a collection of content from your event that has already passed. Send us things throughout your 24 hours and we can highlight it throughout the 10 days from all of these different events. You can see here the mandatory hashtags. We've gone through them in the previous coaching call as well regarding the marketing kit and the recruitment of participants. So tag us, use these hashtags, and then we can repost and reshare and like your posts and boost your channels, and you can do the same to us. More about what kind of content you can take and other marketing activities that you can do regarding your event, of course, in coaching call 5 that was, as said, focusing on these topics. We hope that this gave you a good overview of what you can do in your blended event, what to take into consideration. We hope that it wasn't overwhelming and it doesn't sound like too much work, but we want to highlight all of these details just because it's better to be prepared than to be surprised afterwards. If you have any questions regarding this, as said, you can email us or then join us on Discord in our support calls weekly on Fridays at 10 a.m. I wish you a wonderful evening and I will see you back here again next Wednesday. Take care.